Have you ever looked into the mirror after a breakup and no longer recognized the person staring back, eyes weary from sleepless nights, a once familiar face, now quietly unrecognizable, a soul carrying pieces it no longer knows where to place? You are not alone. Even the strongest hearts have faltered. Even the gentlest souls have broken in silence. We all lose our way sometimes, especially when we lose something we thought would last forever. But true light is not in what we've lost. It's in how we walk through the darkness. It's in how we meet our pain, not to judge it, but to understand it. It's in how we return to ourselves, not with urgency, but with compassion. Shining Mirror-LVB is more than a channel. It is a soul mirror, a quiet place to reflect, to breathe, to begin again. So if you're moving through the shadows of heartbreak, let this video be a soft voice in the quiet, a small warmth in your cold hours, and a first, healing step back to yourself. Toxicity creates toxicity, but it doesn't define you. Sometimes, we don't react out of cruelty, but out of survival. We control because we've been abandoned. We get jealous because we were once compared. We shut down because our voice was once silenced. Every toxic behavior is often just unspoken pain wearing armor. It's a story that was never told, a wound that no one stayed long enough to understand. If you've ever hurt others while trying to protect your brokenness, know this: that wasn't your truth. It was a reflection of your wounds, not your worth. No one chooses to be toxic when they have been deeply loved. No one wakes up wishing to hurt another's heart, especially when they've spent their whole life longing to be held in kindness. So instead of shame, return to that version of you who lashed out, cried in silence, begged to be seen, and say softly, "I see your pain, and from here, I choose to heal. I choose not to pass the pain forward." You are not your worst days. You are not your darkest reaction. You are the one who still believes in light, even after living in the shadow for so long. The curse of self-labeling, when you believe you're the villain. Sometimes, the deepest wounds aren't carved by others, but by the quiet judgments we whisper to ourselves. I'm toxic. I ruin everything. I don't deserve love. These words feel small, harmless, but over time, they become chains, holding your soul hostage to a version of yourself that was never the whole truth. You repeat it enough, and it becomes your story. Not because it's real, but because you stopped questioning it. You are not your mistakes. You are the soul who lived through them. You are the one who fell, yes, but who also woke up and still tried to be kind again. Self-labeling shrinks your essence into a single moment, forgetting the thousands of moments where you chose love, chose grace, chose growth. You are not the villain of your life. You are the seeker, the learner, the one trying, again and again, to meet yourself with compassion instead of punishment. Let your scars be proof of the battles you've walked through, not a sentence you must carry forever. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love. You only have to be real. Real with your wounds, real with your longing to heal, and real with the truth. You are not broken, you are becoming. Journaling, meditation, and compassion, tools for the awakening soul. Awakening isn't about becoming extraordinary. It's not about turning into someone else. It's about coming home to yourself in the most honest way possible. You don't need to force a transformation. You just need to pause and allow yourself to listen. Begin by writing, not beautifully, not perfectly, but truthfully. Write down your regrets, not to dwell in guilt, but to understand the story behind your wounds. Write down the things you've learned, to remind yourself that even in chaos, you have never stopped growing. Then sit, just sit. No need for incense, mantras, or rigid postures. Only this: be with yourself, be with the parts you used to avoid, be with the feelings you tried to numb. At first, it may feel like nothing, only breath, silence, and a few forgotten aches surfacing like old friends. But stay long enough for compassion to seep in. Because in the quiet, kindness begins to speak, and in that kindness, rebirth begins. Compassion doesn't begin with the world. It begins with you, with the parts of you you've ignored, with the bruises you've covered up, with the softness you thought you had to abandon to survive. Awakening isn't a destination. It's the gentle, sacred act of returning to yourself, of learning to love every corner of your being, even the ones still learning how to heal. Forgiveness is a practice, not a feeling. Forgiveness does not wait for the right feeling to arrive, because feelings are waves, gentle today, stormy tomorrow. But forgiveness is a choice, a quiet decision whispered in the soul, even when the heart is still trembling. You can forgive, even while you're still hurting, even when the memories sting, even when the apology never came. Forgiveness is not forgetting, it is not excusing, it is the release of the fantasy that the past could have been different. It is the unclenching of the fist you didn't realize you've been holding for so long. You don't forgive because they deserve it. You forgive because you deserve peace. Peace doesn't come when justice arrives. It comes when your heart no longer asks the past to fix itself. It comes when you return to this moment, softly breathing, and choose to live with less weight. Forgiveness is not one giant leap. It is a practice, gentle, deliberate, daily. Every time you choose not to replay the pain, not to speak their name with bitterness, not to punish yourself with what-ifs, you forgive again. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is an act of sacred courage. To say, "This ends with me." To stop the echo of harm from traveling any further. To write a new chapter, with hands that no longer hold the past too tightly. Visualization, a soft doorway to self-acceptance. Close your eyes for a moment, and imagine yourself beneath a peaceful tree, where golden light filters through the leaves, gently kissing your skin like a quiet blessing. Now imagine that every mistake you've ever made has already been forgiven, wrapped in tenderness instead of judgment. Imagine you no longer have to strive to be loved. You no longer have to earn your place. You no longer have to hold your breath to feel safe. Your breath begins to deepen. Your body softens, and your heart, once clenched with fear, begins to open just a little, like a flower blooming after a long winter. This is not fantasy, it is a training of the nervous system, a gentle rewiring to remember. You are no longer in danger. You are not at war with yourself. You are allowed to rest now. Let your inner voice whisper, "I am safe, I am enough, I am worthy of love. Even in my imperfections, I carry worth. Even in my learning, I am already healing." Visualization isn't about becoming someone else. It is a soft doorway, through which you return, slowly, lovingly, to the truth of who you already are. From guilt to growth, a journey worth taking. There are things you've done that make your heart shrink just thinking about them. Words you've spoken that still echo in your chest like a sharp wind through an open wound. You may have asked yourself, how can I ever forgive myself? How'd I move forward when the past still clings so tightly? The truth is, no one grows without having fallen. No one learns to love deeply without once having hurt, even unknowingly. Guilt isn't your enemy. It's a signal that you care, that you have a conscience, and that you're ready to evolve. Let guilt guide you to honesty, but never let it become the prison you lock yourself inside. Each day, you have permission to begin again, not to erase the past, but to transform it into wisdom, into light. You are not the worst thing you've ever said. You are not the worst decision you've ever made. You are the intention to rise after falling, the morning light you choose to walk toward, the quiet hope still burning in your chest, even when your hands are still shaking. Growth isn't loud. It often starts as a soft whisper. I can do better, I am doing better, and that is more than enough. You are not your mistakes, You are the choices you make now. You've reacted out of fear. You've said things you regret. You've hurt others, and hurt yourself, perhaps more silently. But hear this gently. A mistake is something you made, not something you are. The past is not your identity. It's a place you've been, not where you must stay. You are not confined by what you've done. You are guided by what you choose now. You are the person who chooses to pause, to breathe instead of lash out, to listen instead of argue, to love imperfectly, but honestly. You are the quiet voice within that says each morning, I'm learning how to love again. I may not be perfect, but I'm sincere. I am enough to begin again, right now. You don't have to prove you're good. You don't have to rush to redemption. You only need to be honest with your heart, patient with your steps, and gentle with your becoming. From this moment forward, trust this. You are not stuck in your past. You are walking yourself home, one conscious, compassionate choice at a time. And that is already something beautiful. You don't need their forgiveness to begin forgiving yourself. Have you ever waited for someone to come back and say, "It's okay, I forgive you," as if those words were the magic key to unlock your redemption? The truth is, some apologies will never be spoken. Some people won't return. Some doors will stay closed forever. But you don't need them to keep walking. You don't need anyone else to grant you forgiveness. When you can place your own hand over your heart and say, yes, I made mistakes, but I've also learned, I am not who I was. I choose to move forward with softness and awareness. Freedom doesn't always come from their forgiveness. It comes when you're brave enough to sit with your own pain and refuse to abandon yourself. When you stop seeking permission from others to heal, you'll find the quiet nod of approval within yourself. A nod that may be silent, but strong enough to break the chains you've worn for too long. Self-forgiveness doesn't require a miracle, just honesty and a little compassion. One gentle hand on your chest, one deep breath, one whisper, I've learned enough from this wound, and now, I choose to heal. You are no longer the pain that once named you, no longer the words that made you shrink, no longer the judgment that made you forget the light in your own eyes. You are the new chapter, not needing to begin with fireworks, only with truth and gentleness. Maybe you don't yet know where you're going. Maybe you're still carrying old pieces. But remember this, every new beginning starts with one breath of allowance. Today, you get to write with softness, with kindness toward yourself, with the quiet belief that you are not bound to your old choices. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to live differently. And you are worthy of peace. Your next chapter is unfolding, word by word, step by step, in a light only you can write into being. Forgiving others is hard, but forgiving yourself is often a quiet, lifelong journey. But dear one, guilt doesn't have to be where you end. It can be the doorway to awakening, to compassion, and to a gentler, clearer version of yourself. You don't need anyone else's approval to begin. Just you, your breath, your truth, and your willingness to be patient with your process. Now, as this video comes to a close, take a sacred pause and ask yourself, today, what part of the past am I ready to forgive? Share your reflection in the comments. No judgment here, just truth, tenderness, and a community of hearts healing together. Because every time one person chooses to release the weight, they quietly give permission for others to begin their own journey too. This is Shining Mirror-LVB. Reflect, release, rise. See you in the next video, where we continue the path back to the heart.